Live.
Are we live?
Yes, we are.
Excellent. Okay, it looks like we're live. Good evening, everyone, forever you're dialed in this fantastic Wednesday evening, the 27th of November. It's a pleasure to have you guys join us for this webinar, as it were. We're excited to talk through some of the outcomes of the high level subject from this conversation this evening, and I'm pleased to share or introduce two. If they're not currently known as pioneers in the industries they serve in, they will be, as time goes on, in the form of Dare Olufumilayo and Sebastian Obeta. Now, Dare, is the CEO of Dare.io, founder, and has been driving the company for the past 3.5 years, and also recently launched Extends.ai. And we'll go into that into more detail. So, what's interesting about him is in order to be a founder, he had to have gone through the journey of a portfolio of a career development in the tech space. So he's going to be able to share more about how that contributes to this conversation around, developing the X factor and actually building a portfolio that gets you or makes you attractive as a proposition. And of course, we have Sebastian, who's our special guest today, and I'll allow him to introduce himself. But Sebastian, at a high level, is a member of the European AI Alliance and founder of the Applied Intelligence Society. And he's got an extensive background in tech, prominent speaker globally, fantastic networks. So it's an absolute privilege to bring these two juggernauts together to see how we can, share more insights to get everyone to where they want to be as far as their career and their portfolios. And I'm Jones. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer, Chief Talkative here at Dare.io. So before we get into the questions today, and we'll probably have some questions from the panel, from those attending later on, I'll let the two of them shortly introduce themselves at a high level and briefly talk about their careers to date and the roles their portfolios have played to get them to where they are right now. So Dare, please go first.
Thank you very much, Jones. I hope you can hear me clearly. Okay, and wherever you're joining from, pleased to have you here. And I'm particularly excited on this subject matter, and that's because I always like to talk about the fact that I moved from Nigeria into the UK and I came into tech and I did all sort of things. So my name is Dare Olufumlai, and 3.5 years ago, I decided I was going to go the route of setting up a platform called Dare.io, which essentially is a talent accelerator, basically helping anyone at all, regardless of their background, to launch their tech career. Because I didn't come from a tech background, I actually came from a marketing and was running a fashion design business before I decided to go into tech, and I went all the way through. But this topic is very important to me because I leverage the use of portfolio to break in and do a lot of the things that I was able to achieve over the course of years. So I'm excited to be here today to share some of my journey, some of the things I've had to do, to make impact on myself, my career, in my life, and hopefully it will be instrumental in your lives as you listen as well. So over to you, Sebastian.
Yes, please, Sebastian.
Wow, what a wonderful journey, Dari, to learn that you came into the UK and got into the to tech space. Well,
Yeah.
where do I start from? So my name is Sebastian. Um, I've been in the tech space for over 15 years now, and well, I mean, I'm just trying to count my words because I'm not really sure where to start from. Well, I started as an engineer, a system support engineer in one of the topmost banks in Africa. From there, I moved to one of the biggest telecommunication in Africa. Then from there, I came into the UK and worked with NHS as a data scientist. Again, I worked with Human Infinity AI during the lockdown and working on some of the government projects. From there, I moved to working with Cambridge University as we speak as an NLP expert. Now with European AI Alliance, founded the Applied Artificial Intelligence at the University of Bradford. So yeah, my journey has been an inspirational one, and I'm super excited for this opportunity to share and to encourage one on those X factors. It
Yes,
sounds
yes,
it
yes.
sounds interesting, but it was really experiential for me.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
can imagine. I just love how you and Dari just talk about it so blasé. Oh yeah, yeah. I guess for some people, it can come a bit, seemingly easier. But again, this is part of what we're going to unpack today because I'm sure there was a lot of detailed, diligent, and strategic work that you put in to actually get to where you are right now, and that's kind of what we want to uncover. So in order to do that, I'll ask my first questions, and what I'll do is I'll ask two questions of you each. And then I'll ask some questions that you can both contribute towards. And hopefully, as time goes on and we get more people joining, some questions might start to stream through. So, Daria, I'll go to you first. And the first question really is, you've been the driving force behind the development of platforms like Daria.io and externs, of course. Now, how do you think the evaluation of portfolios in tech has changed over the years? How do you think the evolution of portfolios in tech have changed over the years?
All right, thanks for that, Jones. So first of all, where I would like to start from is to try to understand what we perceive to be a portfolio, right? Because when you say portfolio, someone might think you're talking about having a large folder, right, containing all sort of things, files and all that. Someone else might just understand it, maybe because they've been in the corporate world for some time. They would know, oh, he's probably talking about LinkedIn, right? And someone, if I go a bit further, someone who is in tech in some way would say, oh, maybe he's talking about some of the things you need to put on GitHub and things like that. So the way I see this is traditionally there is a perception of what we all think a portfolio should be, and we all approach it differently. Now, during my time, when I was trying to start out, I had zero portfolio, right? Like I had nothing. All I had was probably, the fact that I studied marketing, and it had no relevance to what I wanted to do at the time when I decided I was going to go into tech, right? And apart from that, I was running a fashion business, which was doing okay, but I couldn't continue with that anymore when I moved to the UK. So I was then faced with the challenge of having a portfolio that will be good enough for a hiring manager to say, okay, you can come and work for us. So first of all is going to be to develop the skill. I needed to have the skill first of all, and then start documenting all of that into some way to help a hiring manager say, yeah, that's good to go. Now, the way I see things is portfolio should be a comprehensive thing that you identify the different things that need to be put together to form your portfolio. Certifications is part of your portfolio. The projects that you work on and you put on GitHub is part of your portfolio. Your outlook on LinkedIn is part of your portfolio. All that comes to shape what a portfolio is. But when it comes to the evolution of portfolios, right? I think things have changed dramatically in the last 5, 10 years. If I were to start all over again, the way I would position my portfolio now is not going to be the way I did it then. It's going to be completely different because the appetite for hiring managers now is changing. There's AI now taking over, and people are scared, say, oh, AI is going to take my job away, this and that. All of that means we have to be creative about how we present ourselves, to hiring managers to say, okay, this is my portfolio, this is what I have to offer. And we have to be mindful of what these people care about. I believe working with a lot of different hiring managers and senior managers and different industries, startups, scale ups, I believe their appetite is goes far beyond just skills, right? You find out companies talking about culture, they're trying to build culture. So portfolios now need to be done in a way that is dynamic, you know, very dynamic, such that in real time, people can get to see what your skills have to offer and how things are changing. You can learn a technology today, and in the next 2 years, that technology is becoming outdated, and you need to, in a more real time, dynamic way, show that you are up to speed with what's going on around. So, to summarize, what I'm trying to say is the evolution has changed completely. It used to be static in a way, but now you have to be prepared to show your portfolio in a way that is constantly changing and adapting to, the changing world that we live in right now.
Okay, that moves me very, very nicely. Thanks for sharing very nicely onto to my question for Sebastian, because as you suggested, the idea of what a portfolio is, the possibilities of what a portfolio is, are increasingly changing. And Sebastian, I'll bring you in on this now because whether you realize it or not, front end or back end directly, you're engaging with some form of automation, some form of machine learning, some form of AI in order to deliver your work or to create a portfolio, right? So, from your perspective, you have a deep expertise in AI and digital transformation. Now, how does AI impact the process of building and presenting a tech portfolio today? And I might even rephrase that and say, how could AI affect the process of building a portfolio today?
Yeah, a whole lot, and I'm gonna share what I'm currently doing and how I'm currently using AI to transform my own portfolio at the moment. So yeah, Dario, we are quite spot on when you mentioned the way portfolio is evolving in the current time, because looking back at when I started when I finished my NYSC, National Youth Service Corps, and then it looks like it's you just go for a job, apply for a job, and all of that without even assessing yourself individually to understand, are you even a portfolio yourself to start with. So yeah, now within the AI space now, anyone within the AI space, digital transformation, machine learning, one of the things they will tell you is you need to have a portfolio. You not be asking, what is this portfolio? So for me, I've tried to build a portfolio. I've tried to build a portfolio that's one that is dynamic and that is adaptive, and also that adaptive to portfolio development. And I did this with the help of LLM model. And this is what I keep saying anywhere I go to, that I'm always grateful to OpenAI for the technology there. So think about building a living and a breathing system of your portfolio. So I have a living and a breathing system. So because it tries to adapt to the responsiveness of the industry. I use an open AI to generate a data for myself, and I update I'll update the data daily. So the data contains my CV, contains the project I'm doing. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to upload it there to add it. So any form of thing you want to ask from me, all I just need to do is just to come up with the API that I've built, ask the question, and it generates it for me. So it's gradually transforming the industry, and that is how I use it. Then it also helps me for enhancing my portfolio intelligence and decision making. So, and this is how it could also help in this era of make impact in building tech portfolio. And what do I mean is I have an AI powered scoring model, in the sense that if I have any application I want to make or any grant that I want to make, I go onto the model and it gives me a scoring model of how I'm measuring up with that particular description or requirements that are there. And you can also see people building such portfolios or building such algorithms that work behind the system with their platforms. LinkedIn, for instance, they have that. They will tell you how you measure with a particular job. So these are the two ways that it's gradually impacting the process of building and presenting your tech portfolio in today's world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Fantastic. Before I move on from that question, because it's super loaded, if you were to recommend the first port of call apart from OpenAI, where would you say the first port of call is? Tool, platform, apart from extens.ai, tools, platforms, or any things that people could turn to to go on a journey of automation in the manner that you just spoke about? Could you just point anyone in one direction or one to one place?
Well, I mean, that's why we are here, and that's why Extern is here to solve the problem. So that could be a very good platform to start with, because I personally, when I went through Extern, I mean, it's loaded in the sense that it builds your not just your technical skill set, but your soft skills that recruiters are always asking for or subtly looking out for in
Mm.
every process. So one can start with that platform and grow gradually with that.
Wow, wow. I didn't even offer you any money, but we'll take that. We'll take that. Dario, over to you then. So can you share your personal experience of building a standout portfolio? What elements do you focus on? And what advice would you give to emerging talent in tech as they go on a journey of building theirs?
Right. Okay. And by the way, before I answer that question, I like how Sebastian described the way he's building his dynamic portfolio. It sounded like we were in the same room when we were brainstorming what external AI was going to be, all about. Because that's the whole purpose of why we built this platform, to make it possible for you to have a dynamic resume that basically tracks your skill as you go along. So you don't even have to worry about going to update your PDF based resume every time. Say, oh, I've just learned this new thing. As you work on different projects and learning new things and all that, it basically dynamically populates that. And I think that thinking is really, really good that you have that. You probably won't have to use your API anymore now that we've released Instance. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice.
All right. So to answer your question, I like to always make reference to my journey, and I like to do that a lot just because that's my first-hand experience on navigating my career and things I've had to do. And if I think back how I started building out a standout portfolio, because these things happen in stages. This portfolio you need to get your first job, right? It's not the same portfolio you're going to need when you want to take it to the next level and move up the ladder, right? But when it was time for me to start building up a lot more solid standout portfolio, mentorship was a key element to what I did then. It wasn't like it happened accidentally for me, because obviously I was recording success as a tech person. A lot of people that knew me in my fashion days, in fact, some of my colleagues that we used to run fashion business together, and they moved to the UK as well, started looking up to me, and it was just natural that, oh, Darius doing this now, and we see what's going on in his life. Let's just tap into it. So I had this particular friend that would always come to me, and I was teaching him SQL at the time. So he would always come to my house, call me on phone. We would discuss things. I'll basically, I was making myself available, and it happened that it was becoming a pain to me in a nice way, because I always enjoy giving out knowledge myself, because each time I do that, I learn as well. But when you have other commitments and all that, it comes in the way. So what I decided to do was, rather than have him come to my house and spend a lot of time that I won't have to do other things, I'd say, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a video. I'll put it on YouTube and I'll send it to you. And that worked. So I started making videos, and I would just put it on YouTube and I'll send it to him, and then he'll ask questions, and we'll keep going back and forth. So rather than stay on the phone, I would just do that. But unknown to me, I was actually building a portfolio, because that formed the basis of how Dario started as a training platform. Because people who I didn't solicit for started discovering my work. They started seeing my videos. They started reaching out. I would randomly get someone or hit me up on LinkedIn, say, "Oh, I saw your video on YouTube, and I'd like to know, can you train me?" And that was where my portfolio started building up. Because when I started looking for work and they're asking me questions around, "Oh, do you have experience mentoring other people?" I said, "Well, here you go. This is my YouTube, and you can see all the different materials that I've put on there. And if you think about it, that's part of some of the strategies that we've also brought into our training platform on Diet.io, whereby when people implement that project, we encourage them to make videos and talk about the things that they've learned, write medium blog posts. Basically, start building your portfolio in a way that shows your expertise. Okay. So the advice I'm going to give to a lot of people is just work on a lot more projects and document your work, right? Document your work on GitHub, on YouTube, on different platforms, blog posts. You can spin up a WordPress instance and just have your own blog post, have a custom domain in your name, and that's a portfolio you're putting up together. And another thing I would say is to embrace collaboration. I can't stress this enough. Companies are always looking out for soft skills, and collaboration is huge. In fact, if you work in the tech space, you realize that some companies, I've had people ask me at interviews and say, what do you feel about, they call it pairing, right? Code pairing together, working together. You be on a call, working with another engineer and going through the code and basically working together. Those kind of things are some skills that you need to have. And when you're pairing with people, obviously you need to work on your communication skills. So if you have the chance, always collaborate, always find ways to work with other people, learning together, find open source projects, contribute to it. And these are part of the things that Extend is also based upon, because you get to work on projects in a collaborative manner. And then thinking beyond tech is another thing I would say. The soft skills, I mentioned that, problem solving, being able to communicate. Those are very, very important things I think that people should work on when they're establishing their portfolio as they go. So that's what I would say.
Phenomenal. And that's crucial. And I'm sure there's so much you can say on that, Sebastian. But one of the things I think is coming out of that, and I think Sebastian touched on it earlier on, for me is like, I'm not necessarily techie, even though I've spent a lot of time learning more recently, is about this idea of having a portfolio mentality from day one. And I think that's the privilege we have with Dazzling.io, because rather than just learning in the abstract, you're actually, and just having a certificate that you just say, hey, but you're actually building that portfolio perspective from day one with the intention and knowledge that someone somewhere sometime is going to be looking at that regularly from Sebastian's point of view, but someone regularly is going to be looking at that. So I think that's really, really key. And either you do it on a sort of technical personal accountability level like Sebastian's doing, or you do it through a tool like ours, the bottom line is you still need to be having that portfolio perspective and realizing that people are going to be looking at it. And Dari touched a lot on mentorship. And this is also a part that I know you do a lot of, Sebastian. I know you do mentorship. I know you do talks, and you introduce your horizon scan around AI, and you introduce people into what AI is, the impact AI is having now, and where it could go and what it could do. So, having been involved in mentoring, what do you think is the most effective way to help the next generation of tech talent build portfolios that not only impress, but also get them hired?
Effective way. There are very effective ways or strategies one can get into. So, I went through a lot when it comes to building portfolios, and that's why I'm going to share this. And during the pandemic, I was with NHS and I was an NLP expert. I work on genomic data. Prior to that, in 2018, 2019, I was one of the first scientists that worked on BERT model, bi-directional transformer. And that was how I developed my NLP skill sets. Now, moving on to that, got into NHS, assisted in my little capacity. Then I got another interview with Office of the National Statistics. They needed an NLP expert.
Okay.
I did that interview very well. I passed that interview to my best of knowledge. But you know what? I was not selected. Do you know the feedback they gave to me? We needed someone with your kind of skill set, NLP. We can see that you don't have knowledge of statistical and demographic data, because that's what they use. I started asking myself, what's statistical and demographic kind of data will I not be able to use with my NLP skill set? So, and that boils down to the first point I would like to say is I call it reverse engineering design. So, I mean, if you want to build that effective portfolio, you just then need to understand, ask yourself, because what I do to some of my mentees, I give them a form to fill and they need to tell me where are they looking out for, what domain they want to specialize in, what companies are you looking out for. So from there you start building your portfolio to tailor it to that environment, because domain knowledge is key irrespective. So once that is identified, then you then try to look for projects that will be tailored specifically to that audience and showing direct alignment with the job's challenges. Because I've been opportune to be in an interview section, and when it comes to scenario-based questions, if scenario-based questions are asked to you and you are not, and you don't have that experience, and you are just reading academics or reading from the textbook or reading, I will know that you don't have that experience. So, so so in all of this, it helps you to stand out, give you a foresight and a proactive alignment within the company that you are projecting yourself for, and where you want to be in the nearest future. Because I can't imagine not knowing how to do name entity recognition with ONS data, but I can do it with NHS data. So yeah, I think that's one of the most effective way that I will advise next generation of talents to look into reverse engineering design roles. Tailor the projects that you're working on, just as Dari mentioned, but tailor it to that domain that you're looking for, and it gives you a foresight to be an expert within those fields.
I like that. I like that. And it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense in any employment scenario. As someone who, as a master generalist, I hated scenario based interviews. And it's great because what's great about technical roles is you have specific, defined, recognizable things you can refer to. And it's just a shame if you don't have that to hand, you're just going to struggle no matter how talented you are. So really, really critical stuff you mentioned there. And Dari, do you want to touch on that before I go to any questions? I think you had something.
Yeah, of course. I think because it reminds me of when I was trying to break out as well, and I was learning Linux, right? In fact, I remember, if she's watching this right now, I just want to take this moment to appreciate it. There's a lady in America we've never met before, and she doesn't even run the YouTube channel anymore, but she calls herself Oracle DBA Girl, something like that. I literally used to watch all her videos, I was learning Oracle at the time, but she was teaching about Linux and all that. And most of the things I know on Linux today, thanks to, her content. And it's one thing to establish the skills and knowledge, but it's another ballgame entirely when you want to now start having scenario to talk about at interviews. Trust me, you can't fake it till you make it here. You must have gone through it. And that's another challenge that a lot of people go through when you're trying to break out. You have the skill. Yeah, you probably done a lot of certifications, and then you go for interviews with your you're on a high horse and your confidence and everything. And then they start asking you questions, and you try, and for experienced interviewers, they can always corner you and ask deeper questions. And it gets to a point, it just becomes so obvious that yes, you have the skill, but you don't have, those domain experience and real world scenarios. And it would take someone, a hiring manager who has foresight, to look at you and say, okay, I know you don't have what you're claiming to have, but I trust in what you're going to come here to do, right? And I'm just going to give you a chance. But not every hiring manager has that type of vision. But anyways, so one of the things I had to do then was always just abstractly think of possible scenarios to think about or to do. So, for example, trying to become a DBA at the time, I had learned about RTOs and RPOs and backups and recoveries and disaster recovery and things like that. But then I would just, out of some of the information I've gotten, think, well, how would I back up a database that is probably running on premise and has a replication happening somewhere else. Some of the things that I've heard from the tutorials, I now think of a scenario, a possible scenario. Trust me, it may never exist. It doesn't even have to exist. But I just think of it and I just say, I'm going to work on this. And then I go all the way into it. And sometimes I even hear about, the first time I would hear the word domain controller was when I was learning all these different things. I didn't know what it was, but it had nothing to do with what I was learning to become at the time. So I said, you know what? I'm going to build this domain controller and I'm going to try to connect computers to it. That is experience. And trust me, you go to interviews and you'll find a way to talk about that thing. Even when they drag you somewhere else, you drag them back. That is where your confidence level is. And it's enough, to make someone say, you know what, you're good. You're who we're looking for, right? So it's all part of the portfolio, and you document that. If you want to do a YouTube video on it, if you want to do, write blog posts on it, by all means, you should do that.
Yes. Thanks for sharing that. It's I think it's actually Sebastian that talked about this. What's the word he used that talk we attended? Something around curiosity. Anyway, it was about intellectual curiosity. I think was the term he used. Yes, and then I think that's because that's what you're both talking about here. You're venturing into doors. You're looking for problem doors. You're looking for you're self-describing issues and processes just so you can be familiar. And yes, platforms like us help you to do that, absolutely. But that curiosity is what basically you're both saying. And I guess going back to your earlier point, Sebastian, is because you know that the time will come where you will be asked certain questions. Best to arm yourself with as many of these what I call situational fluency as you can, just so you're in a good position. So that's super, super critical and applies to everything, really. I always look at it from that perspective. So Sebastian, I know you've got limited time. I want to just quickly turn my question into one or two more questions before we let you go, probably one because of time. And that's really with you guys putting on your leadership hats as individuals who recruit, who interview, and who assess talent from a technical perspective as well. And that being said, the question I have for both of you now, if you could, it might just be the one question before you go, Sebastian, is as leaders in your respective fields, what do you believe are the top 3 qualities that tech professionals should focus on to make their portfolios irresistible to hiring managers? I know it's a hard question to throw now because you said so much already before this question, but if we can just kind of maybe summarize it with 3 qualities. Qualities is a very term, I suppose, but yeah, what do you believe are the most important qualities that people should focus on when they make their portfolios irresistible for you as hiring managers? Sebastian, go first.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I mean, I'm just thinking because the top 3. So I think from my conversations with hiring managers, well, I'm not one, so I will not be able to position. So for my conversations with hiring managers, I think number 1 is they would like to see candidates who evolved. So if you're a superstar in knowing how to use being an AI expert, they would like to see that narrative of evolution and growth from you. So they won't just know that you just appeared. So hiring managers, they are not just hiring for today because that will help them to see if potential. So for every single point or every single time you're in front of a hiring manager, the person is looking beyond you sitting there or looking beyond the job description. So in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, can this guy sitting in front of me make that impact? So, and they can get a glimpse from it looking at the narrative of your evolution and your growth over time. Then, so I think focusing on scalability and impacts and not just the execution, which sits at the intercept of technicality and soft skills, because so many portfolios now focus solely on what I built, but they skip how it's been scaled, what systematic challenges have they solved. I mean, I see a lot of GitHub portfolio because it's just the normal slogan now. AI, machine learning, blah blah blah. Have a portfolio, have a GitHub account. When you click on the GitHub, you can't see any movement or any activity there. So hiring managers, they are trying to evaluate the value and look at it from the long term and systematic progress that individual has built. How did this person scale and what impacts, not just the execution. Yeah, you developed, you worked on a community project, you did this, you did that, absolutely well. What are those systematic challenges you faced? How did you enable others that worked within you within that? And I think they want to also see how cross-disciplinary you integrate easily into a broader system, how cross-disciplinary you integrate into a broader system, because they know that you are not going to sit at your decks and be working. You have cause to interact with other stakeholders. So
Mhm.
how, I mean, you're just good with coding. That's not enough. How do you integrate yourself within club's disciplinary system? So there are a whole lot, but I think let me leave it there because there are three. These are the top three that I think, and
That's
I'll
good.
leave
That's enough.
the
That's enough. We'll take that. We'll take that.
Okay. So if I can contribute to that, right? I always like to approach things, first of all, from the other perspective, like, I don't know, maybe because I'm a businessman, that helps me to think that way. But anytime I want to do something, I always look at it from the other end. Now, when it comes to hiring, at the end of the day, what these guys are looking for is value. Okay. It's a value exchange. So the question you want to ask yourself is, what value am I bringing to this person? Right? Businesses want value. They want people who are not going to be a pain. They're not babysitters, so they're not going to want to babysit you. So you want to make sure you structure your value proposition early on in an interview, right? You can take a cue from the job description, and sometimes from even going further to read up and learn about the company itself and try to understand what they value the most. And then you can always structure yourself, especially when you're preparing to go into a particular interview, always structure yourself to present yourself in the best light, for what value you perceive that they're looking for. And always remember, anytime companies are looking to hire people, they're not only hiring you about today. And this, I think this goes alongside with what Sebastian said, because yes, they may want to hire a data scientist today, but be they may also want to know, could this person become a leader in our company in the future, right? So you have to show those skills early on. So don't focus too much on what you're able to bring today, your Python skills. That's great, yes. But what else outside of that do you have to offer? Okay, so that's another thing I will talk about. And then I'll talk about communication skills. I think that is very, very important. And a lot of people struggle with that. We focus a lot on technical skills, but we forget that if we're not able to communicate how we can use those skills, then you will be shooting yourself in the foot, because you go into interviews, they ask you a question, yes, you know it, but you just can't communicate it. A lot of people have lost opportunities just because of that. So as we are learning technical skills and trying to do other things, we need to start focusing on things that can help us build communication skills. And I think mentorship is very good at that, because when you mentor other people, you're basically learning while teaching. And you're learning, part of the things that you're learning is communication skills. And that's very, very key. You go into the interview, or you're building a portfolio, you're perceived as someone who has great communication skills. And companies will have that confidence that, okay, even if you're client facing, you're going to represent us very well. We don't have concerns around that. As a founder myself, I've had to hire people that, after hiring, I realized, oh my God, I can't trust this person to represent me well, you know. So it informs the way I think about hiring. Now, if I'm going to hire someone, I'm not only hiring you about what you're going to bring to me from your technical perspective right now. I'm also thinking about when I'm not there, right? Or when you're taking leadership position, how are you going to, what value can you bring in the future? It's not just about now. So those are the three things I'll talk about.
Fantastic. I think, yeah, this mate, there's so much there to kind of unpack, and even from my perspective as the least technical, I'd say, but obviously have been in business leadership before. I think there's a massive difference between understanding the impact of your role in a business and understanding the impact in your role for business success, i.e., are you operating in a silo and you're going to just do this work, or do you actually appreciate the impact that work has on the broader business objective? Because that's where your ideas, that's where the curiosity comes in, that's the ingenuity. You're like, oh, this is what you can do, this is what you can do comes from, and then that kind of separates you. And there's nothing more underwhelming than a talented person who just wants to talk about the fact that they can just do one linear thing without appreciating what the impact is. So thank you so much for sharing, because that cuts across both of what you do. Sebastian, we want to respect your time. It's supposed to be a 1 hour call. We might go over a bit. So at this point, we'd just like to appreciate you for giving us your evening, for the points you've shared. You're approachable. You're very available. I know you're on LinkedIn. So, Sebastian Obeta is here, guys. Feel free to reach out to him on LinkedIn. Follow him, follow his journey, his articles. And Dari, any final points for Sebastian before we let him go?
Well, I just want to say thank you very much, Sebastian, for coming up on this show. We met recently at a talk in London, and I enjoyed every bit of the talk, right? And I couldn't help but reach out to him and say, hey, dude, you want to come and talk with me on this show, So I just want to say thank you very much. Your impact in the industry is felt, and we can see that, and I'm just looking forward to us having to do this again at some point soon.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I told you when we met in London, wait, are you this guy that always pop up on my screen? Hi, I'm Dari. Like these adverts that always pop up on my screen. Hi, I'm Dari. I want to welcome you to the Software Institute. So, that's what I said to you. But yeah, you're doing amazing job in grooming generation talents. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure being here. Thank you, Jones, for having me.
No worries. Have a good evening. You can. Cheers. Okay, so I think yes. So it's just me, you and Dari. I think for the last 15 or so minutes, because we want to respect time, guys, we are happy to come to questions that have been or could have been coming through the chat. Joy or we go. We've got it on the screen. Go. There you go, Dari. Please feel free to start picking them up.
Right. Okay. So someone is asking, I have 2 tech skills, data analysis and community manager. I want to believe community manager is like sales, right? If I'm correct.
Maybe relationship.
No. I was thinking that's country manager, because I know managers are like those people. Okay, community manager is like, managing community, right? Okay. So reverse engineering design, is that another skill? I don't know. So does that mean 3 different skills you're talking about now? Reverse engineering design? Well, with both skills, I would have both separate. Okay. All right. I think I get what the question is. First of all, you don't want to have 2 or 3 separate portfolios. You're going to have 1. Okay. It's best to have 1, because it's like trying to chase 2 birds. Okay. If you do that, you're not going to catch any. Okay. So the best thing you can do is to focus on 1. You have to determine a career path. Focus on 1, but then all your other skills, you can find ways to incorporate that into that single career path. So you basically just have to start from, okay, what path do I want to focus on? Is it data analysis that I want to focus on? That's your core, your primary. But you say community manager, reverse engineering skills, or whatever skills that you have, all that could be part of some of the extra skills that you bring to the table. Okay, so you can talk about them in some of the, on your CV, for example, when you have the title of the job you've done and then some of the things that you did, you can, in a subtle way, put some of those things that is outside of the core in there just to show your abilities to do things, or maybe a section that shows what you like to do outside of your regular, like volunteering. Okay, you can show that somewhere there. But what you don't want to do is to say, I've worked as a data analyst here, I worked as a community manager here, and that transition is just going to send bad signals to the hiring manager or whoever's looking at your portfolio. So it's very important, to make sure that you're focused on something, and then you find a way to then coordinate your skills into that. I hope that makes sense.
I hope so too. Yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing on that. I don't know, we haven't got the audio. We've got the ladies helping us with the questions. So that was the question there. I hope that was helpful. Have you got any others?
Okay, let me see if I can find other. Okay,
There we
there's
go.
another. All right. So someone's asking you for training on how to build portfolio during your training. How to utilize the Extens AI in uploading projects during training. So let me take this opportunity to talk about Extens AI that we've built. And by the way, this is an extension of what we are doing at Diary.io, which is basically to get you started on your journey, the skills that you need to have. But when it comes to acquiring more skills and experience, you need to get to work on multiple projects. And what Extens AI is able to do is allow you to access projects from diverse perspective, different angles, industries, different ideas that you can pick up and work on. So essentially, you don't even need to think much about what project to work on. You just go in and you search for projects, and then you see the details and you basically start working on them. And then you have all the tools to allow you to work with it. You have access to tech leads to help you navigate the process. You have AI that's going to support you as you go along. You have all sort of materials, project management tools that can help you to basically move on and deliver an end-to-end solution. Either you're working in a solo form or you're working collaboratively with other people. Okay, so building a portfolio from that perspective, basically, you don't even have to think about it. You just carry on doing that, and Extens AI builds that portfolio for you. So you're writing a blog post somewhere, you let Extens AI know, it populates and updates your digital CV. And that is what you basically send to recruiters. You can download, send it to recruiters and say, this is what it is. And it even gives an employability score that says, this is what we think, you are on your journey. So if your employability score says you're 40 out of 100, it helps you to see and drill through and say, okay, where am I lacking? What do I need to do to go from 40 to 80 to 90 to 100, right? And that way you don't have to worry too much about, am I doing the right thing or not? We help you do all of that with technology. And then from a hiring manager perspective, they actually get to see everything you have to offer, your skills, your soft skills, technical skills, and then the projects that you worked on that led you there, and that's what I was talking about when I said that it has to be dynamic, right? Your portfolio has to be dynamic, right? So you're learning something new today, you're watching a YouTube video, a random YouTube video, okay? You can bring that into your portfolio. There's a whole lot of materials that we consume that does not reflect in any way in your CV. Now, that is no longer going to happen, because when you're part of Extens, no information is lost. You take certain assessments from time to time regularly that all adds up to your employability score. All right.
We've got Damilola. Thank you for that. I don't know if we can share this. I've just seen the question come up. Damilola, I'm a data analyst.
Okay.
Okay, we got one here. Joyce put one up. Okay.
All right. So Joy's asking.
Oh no, we got it's LinkedIn.
Right. So Damilola is asking, I'm a data analyst transitioning into data scientist. Okay, I wish Sebastian was here to answer this, but I'll give it a shot. I've done a few projects and I hope to create a portfolio. However, when I search for portfolios to learn from, they are not something I want to have because it does not help me showcase my technical writing skill and knowledge on the project. Please help. Okay. And he's also asking, what's the name of AI? Do we have to pay? All right. So this is a very, very good question. And it's a validation of the fact that the solution Extens AI has come to solve is directly impacting some of the challenges that you're facing. Because when you work on projects and you want to showcase your technical writing skill, these are part of the things that you actually get to do on Extens, because your technical writing, maybe you wrote a Medium article on the project that you've done. We analyze all that, and it forms part of the score that you're going to have on your digital portfolio. So it's a good thing to want to transition from data analysis to data science. You have a lot of work to do with that. There are lots of data science related projects that you get to work on across different industries, healthcare, fintech, and that will help you have a robust uh, uh, view of things. And by the time you do that 6 months, 12 months, you'll be amazed that the kind of skills you would have built will be as good or even better than that of someone who is 3, 4, 5 years already in the industry. And what we're trying to do with Extens is to ensure that there will come a time where companies will be okay with you having a 6 to 12 months experience on Extens, right? Even though you've never had any other experience at all, because you're so darn good that you can be trusted. And it's not by perception, it's actually data driven, because then you can see everything that you've worked on. It connects to your GitHub repository, and all the work, all the Git commits, and everything you're working on is basically being analyzed there.
It's basically what Sebastian has built for himself, isn't it? Pretty much.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's super cool. We've got 7 more minutes. I don't know if we've got many more questions here. Let's see.
I think that's it, really.
Okay, cool. That's just the questions we've got there. So, I suppose I can ask you some bonus questions just for the sake of the replays when they come through, because we have a lot of replays come through.
Okay.
And I suppose the question I would ask you really is around your challenges, really. So, can you name some of the biggest challenges you faced? Oh my God, noise.
Okay.
Some of the challenges you face when it comes to building your portfolio, as in, on your journey, actual obstacles. You mentioned interviews. I think you said a few other things.
Yeah. Well, one big challenge is finding projects to work on. I must tell you, it's not easy, honestly, because you can only work on things that right? So it takes extra effort to want to think through, and work on something you don't know. It doesn't make sense. You can't work on something you don't know, right? So you need to be employed. You need to be in a community of people working on problems in the real world to actually be able to gain that experience. But it's very unfortunate that if you don't get the job in the first place, you don't get the opportunity. And I think that was one of the major problems I had. I had to think through what use cases to work on, to then have some experience. But the thing is, the moment you have your first break, it just goes on from there, because then that first break opens you up to a lot of opportunities to work on different projects. If you work with a company for 6 months, 12 months, for example, you have the opportunity to work on certain things, and then you can go on there to other places. Or if you're still within the same company, if it's a startup that's always coming up with great innovation, you have the opportunity to keep on working. But to break out at first, building a portfolio is a great challenge, especially finding projects to work on. And that is exactly what Extens, amongst other things, is here to solve. Because now you can go in and basically just search for project. You can filter by industry, filter by ideas, and some of the things in our on our roadmap is basically for you to even type out what you're interested in. You can use natural language to search and say, hey, I want to work on a project that is this, and that, and then you have those kind of suggestion, and then you can just go in and join a pod. A pod is like a combination of different engineers coming together to work. So you can join that pod and work together with them in the same collaborative manner, and that builds up on top of your collaboration skills that you can also show forth. I think that's the major problem. Building portfolio. The other problem I would think about, but I don't think is a problem, because you can solve it yourself, is actually showing what you have to offer. Okay, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people just focus on the CV, the resume. If I have a CV, that's what I set out there. But it goes beyond that, because you'll be shocked when a recruiter sees your CV. The first thing they do is they go online, they put your name on the internet. So what's going to come out of the back of your name? That is so important, right? So if you have some things that you've done in the past that you're not proud of, you better start thinking of ways to clean it up, right? And you can remember places you want to log into to go and start cleaning them up. Do that because you want to have a professional outlook, right? So you want to do that. Your LinkedIn, make sure it is spot on, it is great. Typographic errors, grammatical errors. You want to make sure that you take your time to do that. Projects that you work on, open up a Medium profile. Do all of that. And but again, you don't have to do them so much now that you have Excellence AI, because we're basically going to help you do that. On our roadmap again is integrating with LinkedIn such that it dynamically populates your LinkedIn profile, and you don't even have to think about it. Your skills and everything just gets updated dynamically. So I hope that helps.
Massively, in summary. And we've got 2 minutes left. We just had a last minute question come up. And John Paul's asking, how do you deal with imposter syndrome as a beginner?
Oh my God. That is a problem that, trust me, every one of us have, right? You just feel like you're not good enough. In fact, one of the questions I used to ask myself that I used to wish I had someone I could ask. In my case, I didn't have anyone around me that could really mentor me, and say, hey, Dari, I'm going to hold you by the hand, right? Even though I did find someone who worked in that capacity with me towards the end, right? But starting out, it was a real challenge for me. And I used to ask that question, how do I know that I'm ready? Like that, you can't be watching videos all day long, practicing, doing projects and all that. You will have this imposter syndrome that you keep wondering, how do I know? Am I ready? Can I start looking for work? Right? And what we want to do on Excellence is not even to have you look for work. We want the work to start looking for you, right? It needs to start coming to you. So imposter syndrome is not going to happen to you on Excellence AI. Why? Because now you have an employability score that becomes your metric that you can use to determine and tell you when you're ready, right? Our system will tell you when you're ready because we track all the projects and all the things that you're learning and the assessment and all the things that you're doing. And with that, you're able to basically just make that decision on your own. Okay. But then again, once you come up with that confidence, you just have to have it's a mental thing. Every imposter syndrome, you just have to take it away. You don't have to be perfect before you go out there. So that's what I'm going to end with. You don't have to be perfect, okay? It's just the way we build technology. We build it in an agile manner. Even your career has to be agile. You just have to get started, right? You get started to a comfortable level and just go for it. Go all out. You focus on your portfolio, and before you know it, employers are going to come knocking on your doors. And at that point, you feel more proud of yourself.
Excellent. We're bang on 7 o'clock. I know we just had a question come through. We've kind of covered it in a few other questions earlier on. So, yeah, I think all I would add to what you're saying is what you said is obviously is experience, right? But one of the ultimate cures for imposter syndrome is experience, actually looking back and saying, damn, I did all that, right? And that actually, again, is what Excellence does, right? Because you're actually working, you're collaborating, it's Excellence in the name. You're effectively in a role that's simulating the employment situation.
Exactly.
that when you do get
Just
into
that.
that environment, you might still have imposter syndrome, but you can manage it a bit more. Was that me?
I think I lost my internet for a bit, but I'm back. Can you hear
And
me?
me too. And me too. But on that
Okay.
bombshell, it's probably a good place to end the conversation for the evening. And to thank all attendees for their time, or panelists for their time, you, Darren, for your time, all the teams that helped to set this up. Until the next time, have a good evening from us here at Externs.ai and Dare.io.
Thank you very much. See
Bye.
you again. Bye.